Hey, everybody, welcome to the Texas FBS College Football Countdown. Again, what this is, I started this in week one. You guys know me. Most of you know me that I am in the media with the Texas Rangers, but I love college football. So I started a little. Texas, to me, is the best place where there is college football or any sort of football from the high school level all the way up. Most of your top D1 recruits come from here, but there are 13 schools in the state of Texas that are FBS eligible, meaning they could qualify for the college football playoffs. They're in conferences that some of them are the smaller conferences. They're not the Power Five, but there are 13 D1 schools, Division One FBS eligible. We've counted them down from week one, starting in week 5 or 6. I started doing these little videos for fun. This is the third one, so that would have been 6, 7. This is going to be week number 8. Not a ton changing, but we can talk about what's going on and what they're going to be playing this week. Although some at the bottom did shuffle just a little bit because there were some teams that did play. Not a lot at the top. Most teams are idle. We're going to start again, go back to number 13, and number 13 hasn't changed. Number 13 is the University of Texas El Paso Miners. Scotty Walton has that team. Look, they went to Western Kentucky and got rolled. Again, they're 0-6 for the season, 44-17 by Western Kentucky. This is first year. He doesn't have the players he wants there. They haven't moved. They go in to next week. They're going to play this. Actually, they're playing tonight or tomorrow night, the 16th. Actually, the 16th is today, right? But they're going to be playing FIU on CBS at 8 o'clock. So they're playing a weeknight game, probably a money game. But that FIU's better than them. UTEP is probably looking for a long season. I don't see, there might be someone, maybe New Mexico State. We'll see where they get on this. They might get a win later in the season. That's number 13. Let's go to number 12. Number 12, the UTSA Roadrunners, the University of Texas San Antonio Roadrunners, who dropped to 12 because they lost to previous number 12, the Rice Owls, 29-27. Jeff Traylor, who has had success at UTSA, he's been successful the last couple of years. This year, he's fallen off. Look, he has not had good luck. Texas rolled them. Texas State rolled them. They did win, the 2 wins they got, Kennesaw State and Houston Christian. Those are schools you're supposed to beat. East Carolina beat them pretty bad. Rice, it was a close game, but they lost to Rice. So if you lose to a team and you have the same record, guess what? My thing is the tiebreaker always goes in that circumstance. And who won? That's obviously Rice. So UTSA comes in at number 12 this week. Number 11, the Rice Owls, who got their second win of the season. They got one against Texas Southern earlier in the year, who beat the UTSA Roadrunners 29-27. That puts them up ahead. They were number 12, and they had been at number 12 basically since we had started this thing. And now Rice is number 11. You beat a team head-to-head, you get to move ahead of them. This week might be a tough task. They got Tulane coming. That they're going to Tulane, actually. So Tulane has been a pretty decent team and doing pretty well. And I don't know what we'll see there, but good for Rice for getting out of that and getting out of winning a conference game against another FBS team in the state of Texas and jumping out of the 12th spot because UTEP's been down there at the bottom. So next we're going to go to our top 10. Number 10 are the Baylor Bears. The Baylor Bears come in at number 10 this week. Look, Baylor is 2-4. Again, when you got what? You got Rice, you got UTSA, you got Baylor, all at 2-4. When you have identical records and you haven't played each other, what's the tiebreaker? For me, the tiebreaker is always going to be if I think you played on a neutral field against the other team, do you think you would beat them? I think they would beat Rice, and I think they would beat UTSA. So it's pretty easy for me to go there. Now Baylor didn't play this week. They were idle, so they didn't have anything going there. But this week, they're going to Texas Tech to play against the Red Raiders. They have a chance to do something in our list here where they're going to beat another team in the list. Doing that, Texas Tech's, at the top of the Big 12 right now. They're one of the leaders. They're tied for first place. But Baylor Dave Aranda is on the hot seat, very much on the hot seat at Baylor University. But they come in at number 10. Let's go to number 9 next. Number 9 is the TCU Horned Frogs. TCU was idle this week also. They did not play, but they did play. They lost to the University of Houston. They actually have a better record than the University of Houston right now, but I'm not going to put them in front of it because it's not like they have a much better record, and they ended up losing to the University of Houston. Now, they didn't play this week, but the last game they played, they lost to Houston 30-19. That's pretty bad. And I think the task is even getting bigger and harder because this week they're going to go out and play in Utah. Look, Utah is coming off a loss that nobody expected. Utah is a good team. They've got Cameron Rising. I don't know if he'll be healthy. It looks like he's going to get another year of eligibility. He's going to come out of college football with his PhD, I believe, because this is like year 14 of eligibility that he's applied for and gotten. But Utah is a good coach team. They were picked to win the Big 12. They've had a little bit of a down year, and I think Utah is going to handle TCU pretty easily. Who knows? We'll see what happens with Hoover, the quarterback for TCU, who, by the way, was guest with Jeff Wilson, who is covering TCU for DLLS Sports. And, you can go over there and listen to that one, see what he has to say about it. But that's number 9. Let's go to number 8. Number 8 is the Houston Cougars. Another Big 12 team coming in here. Now, the Houston Cougars are 2-4 like everyone else. But the reason I have them up above, they beat TCU 30-19. I think that Houston will beat Baylor, personally. That's when that head-to-head, when they're tied with them. And, of course, I do think they would beat Rice and they would beat UTSA, which is why I have them above them. But I have them ahead of TCU, has a better record. I think TCU's 3-3 right now. But the reason I do is, look, you lost. I mean, unless, if you lose to a team and your record, if you're 1-5, but you beat a team that's 5-1, depending on who that 5-1 team has played, your record is still pretty bad before you're going to climb above them in this rankings, unless both of you don't have, it all depends on that. But right now, Houston is going to be the number 8 team. They were off and idle this week, right? Houston was idle this week. They go to Kansas this weekend. They're going to be going to Kansas. Had a technical difficulty there. Anyway, so sorry about that, guys. Now let's go to number 7. Number 7 is the Texas State Bearcats. Texas State went and defeated Arkansas State 41-9. They're 4-2 right now. Where are they at right now? They are second in the Sun Belt right now. Hey, look, this Texas State team, they went out and just ran all over UTSA, which I always go back to UTSA and the way they have looked the last couple of years with Jeff Traylor. They obviously are having a down year, but Texas State went out to Arizona State and almost won that game. They ended up losing a very close one to Sam Houston, 40-39, who is another good team this year. They beat Troy pretty badly. Then they beat Arkansas State bad, 41-9. Big win there. They've got Old Dominion this week. They're going out to Old Dominion. Texas State Bearcats, they come in at number 7. Let's go to number 6. Number 6 is the University of North Texas Mean Green, or the Eagles. They're technically the Eagles, but they go by Mean Green. They are 5-1, and sitting right now. Where are they sitting right now? They're third in the American the AAC. They are. I mean, look, they beat FAU. Coach Tom Herman out at Florida Atlantic University. It was a good game. They won 41-37 against them. They are going out to Memphis, another good team. But North Texas. What do you have to do? You have to keep winning, and they've continued to win. They beat Florida Atlantic, which is going to be an offensive. They're going to get on offense. That's Tom Herman's specialty is offense. At 5-1 for North Texas, they've got a chance in the American Athletic Conference. We'll see the AAC. We'll see what they do. They've got a schedule coming ahead. They've got Army on that schedule, who's undefeated, and it's kind of rolling over. Everyone finally made it in the top 25. But that who is coming in at number 6 is UNT. Now we go to number 5, our top 5. Number 5 is Sam Houston, the Sam Houston Bearcats. They were idle this week. Last game they had played was against UTEP. They beat UTEP by 20 points, 41-21. They do play Western Kentucky on what's today, the 16th? I believe it is the 16th. The 16th. So they do play tonight against, depending on when you're watching this, Wednesday the 16th. They do play Western Kentucky. But right now, Sam Houston is second in Conference USA. They're 5-1 overall. All these last teams besides Texas is 5-1. They haven't moved from where they were last week because they were idle, and all the rest of these teams were idle this week. But Sam Houston came in at number 5. Let's go to number 4. Number 4, the Texas Tech Red Raiders. The Texas Tech Red Raiders are also 5-1. They are first in the Big 12, or tied for first in the Big 12. They were idle this week. They did not play. Their last win was against Arizona. They won 28-22. They've got Baylor coming to town. They're going to be hosting Baylor this weekend. It's be a 3:00 kickoff on ESPN2. Joey McGuire's got that team going right now. Look, they had a very bad win. When it sounds crazy, right? But you've seen the bad wins. Like you've seen the bad wins in every division of football where somebody barely beats somebody that they shouldn't, right? So this is a bad win. Abilene Christian, they went out and almost lost to Abilene Christian to start the season, 52-51. Kind of gotten the ship righted going forward. I mean, they beat North Texas 66-21. They beat Washington, lost to the Washington State. Arizona State they beat. They beat Cincinnati 44-41. Look, Texas Tech can get some offense going. Defense, that's where they struggle a little bit. Baylor's coming to town. I think it's a win for Tech pretty easily. We'll see what happens. That's your number 14. Now we go to number 3. Number 3, and one of my favorite teams, because I just watched Pony Express again the other night, Pony XS on the 30 for 30. SMU Mustangs. Boy, how do you not talk about the SMU Mustangs? Second in the ACC, American Athletic Conference. They're 5-1. They were idle this week, but their last win was against Louisville, who's ranked number 22. SMU's ranked number 21 right now. They're in the top 25. Good for them. Great for them. So what are they doing this week? They've got Stanford. They'll be on the ACC network at 7 p.m. They are hosting Stanford. Hey, good for SMU. Go over to Ford Stadium if you're in the Metroplex. Stanford's going to be in town. Boy, I tell you right now, you've got to take your hats off to Lashley and what he's doing over there, Rhett Lashley, because man, he has got the Mustangs rolling, and good for them. I'm so proud of them. Now we go to our number 2 team. Number 2 is Texas A&M Aggies. Texas A&M Aggies come in at number 2. They were off this week after a really good win against Missouri, where they won 41-10. Very impressive. They're going to go out to Mississippi State this week. Got to be careful with Mississippi State. Played Texas pretty well. Texas beat them by 20. There's no line on that. I don't know that there's a line on that yet. But they're obviously I think A&M's about an 80% chance to win that game. I would pick A&M to win unless the spread was maybe 14 or more. I don't, just because, this is a team. I think that Mississippi State is a team with Jeff Lebby calling the shots that can score some points. Now, I don't think they'll stay within double digits. I have a feeling A&M will win this by double digits at least, which isn't bad. I mean, look, they hung in with Georgia right till the end this last week. But, I guess I can see where Aggies would be a little nervous going into there just because of Mississippi State showed some life, in a couple of games. They actually showed some life against Texas a little bit. Texas just, Arch Manning got its first real start. They ended up beating them by 20 points, even though the spread, I think, was 27. Something. The only game that Texas hasn't covered. But you don't really see A&M losing this game. I don't. If it's one of those things where you feel like A&M's going to win it, even if they only win by 7 or 8 points, it's probably not going to reflect that it was that close of a game. One of those deals where they were up by 14 and you're getting down to the last couple minutes, you're playing some backup guys, and someone breaks one or gets a score or something to that effect, just because Mississippi State with Jeff Lebby does have the ability, if they get things right, to maybe make a big play or something like that. But, I don't see A&M losing this game. Nothing's out of the possibility in the SEC. That's for sure. That's one thing you're learning as a Horn fan. I'm a Horn fan, saying that, I don't see A&M losing this at all. In fact, I thought that A&M would beat Missouri. I did not see him beating them by 31 points. But what I did see was I just thought that going in and playing at Kyle Field was just going to be too much for Missouri. And, and of course, I thought Marcel Reed was going to play. And then you had Connor Weigman come out and do what he did, which was amazing. He was fantastic. If Connor Weigman's like that, that's the play you're going to get. He's going to pick apart at Mississippi State, in my opinion. I think he's going to pick them apart. So that's number 2. Then we go to number 1. Texas Longhorns. And they're going to stay number 1 after this week. Look, Aggie fans, you can jump all over this all you want, no matter what happens in the game. First of all, Oklahoma, they played Oklahoma this week. They beat Oklahoma bad. Quinn Ewers looked rusty to begin the game. They finally got, you know what? Here's the thing. Texas is playing good on all facets of the game right now, so that Quinn Ewers could look rusty and knock off the rust and not look great, but the other players surrounding him were playing good enough that they were going to be able to keep him in the game until he got it going. And then they really didn't even need him. He passed for 200 yards, threw a touchdown, ran for a touchdown. He wasn't his best, Quinn Ewers, coming from not playing for 4 weeks. He didn't play. In fact, 4.5 weeks, something like that. No, 4 weeks is what it was, because of the injury. Look, they're playing Georgia this week. What do I see happening there? I mean, if you look on paper, I think everybody thinks that Texas is better than Georgia right now, but this is the Georgia Bulldogs. Good Lord. Anything can happen. The only way that Texas would move out of number 1 and A&M would pass them, first of all, A&M's got to go beat Mississippi State, which we think they will. Texas would have to get rolled. Let's say that Georgia comes in and beats them by 14-7, 21 points, something to that effect. I would absolutely, obviously look at it and think that maybe A&M could jump Texas in that case, but it would roll back again. And I know I'm biased because I am a Texas fan, but I think you take Texas and Texas A&M both at a 6-1 record, and you put them on a neutral field and play each other. Look, I think 7 out of 10 times Texas is going to win that game. Not because A&M is a bad team. Not that I don't think A&M can beat Texas. Of course I think A&M. I think Vanderbilt can beat Texas. I think anybody can beat anybody in the SEC, but that's just eye test looking at it. Texas just has more things clicking right now. So if Texas comes out and beats Georgia, nobody's going to argue they should be the number 1 team on this list or any list. If they come out and lose to Georgia, barely, let's say it's a great game, goes back and forth, something within 7 points, somewhere in there, and it's a back and forth, lose it at the end, somewhere there. There's no real reason to take Texas out of number 1 when you still think they would probably beat A&M on a neutral field. Now, they get blown out by Georgia. Georgia just manhandles Texas and, comes out and just rolls them. That changes the whole narrative in the whole ball game. Then obviously you would take a hard look. Maybe Texas isn't what they are. But that's where I stay right now. And I preface it and say that because let's say that Texas ends up losing this week, ends up barely losing to Georgia. If you're an Aggie trying to claim, well, then you need to put A&M over because we're still undefeated in the SEC, and you need to put them with that record over Texas in the FBS in the state of Texas. That's not how it works. Until you play head-to-head, depending on the records, you have to look at that neutral, because what loss do you have? The loss to Georgia is going to be a better loss than the loss to Notre Dame. I know Notre Dame has looked better, but Notre Dame is not Georgia. That's just the way that goes, period. It just is. Now, unless Georgia just manhandles Texas, that changes the whole narrative. But if it is a good, close game like we think it is, and Georgia ends up winning, that's a better loss than the loss to Notre Dame. And it's still neutral. Now, Texas and A&M are going to get to play each other if they stay undefeated, which I think it is. I think when you come down to that last game, I honestly think that Texas and A&M will play each other and then turn around and play each other again for the SEC championship. I see that. I look at A&M's schedule and what they've got coming forward. I mean, obviously, Mississippi State, I think they're going to win. Get a little scared of South Carolina. You got LSU. That could obviously, but you're hosting LSU. Then you host Texas. You host LSU first, then you South Carolina. You go to South Carolina, and then you host Texas. The only loss in my mind right there, for sure loss that I look at and say that's probably a loss is the Texas game. Now, Aggies don't agree with that. That's great. You shouldn't. You should think Texas is overrated and we're going to beat them. That's the way you're going to think going into that game. But that's where I see it right now. This is always fun to do. I think I want to do an all FBS team at some point, just kind of players from all the Texas FBS schools, and put together a first team offense and defense, and put it together. No, it's not going to be all Texas. In fact, the quarterback right now that you have to look at is probably Morris from University of North Texas, who's got the best numbers of anybody of the teams with the better records right now, and his team's 5-1. But anyway, it's something I've thought about. Guys, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. This is something I do for fun. It has nothing to do with my Rangers coverage. If you're covering that, that's over on DLLS_sports. Go hit that. Or you can do the Rangers podcast also. A lot of fun. Next week, week 9. Let's see what happens this weekend. It should be fun. Thanks, guys.